Hey, what are you doing, honey? Did you have lunch yet?
He can, yeah, I fed myself with the food we have at home. Did you have lunch too?
Yeah, I did. This morning you said you had something urgent to take care of. Were you able to take care of it?
Yeah, I was.
Glad to hear that. By the way, you are aware that it's my mother's birthday next Saturday, right?
Of course I am. I actually wanted to talk to you about that. It seems that her battle with cancer has taken a toll on both her body and spirit, so what do you think about organizing her birthday celebration at our home this time? It's already been 3 years since we got married, and we've always taken her out for her birthdays because of my lack of confidence in cooking. But I'm thinking maybe I should try harder this time. I can't promise perfection, but I'm eager to attempt to create a truly memorable birthday party for her. How about smoking a brisket? I know she loves that. I thought of making her favorite quinoa salad too. The doctor recommended quinoa as it'll help her with sugar levels and insulin resistance. Teresa's doctor couldn't stress enough about the importance of the diet since she's now only half of her pancreas, which means her body is not producing as much insulin as before. He recommended quinoa since it's a low glycemic food.
You sound like a doctor.
Anyway, to add an extra touch, I contemplated crafting spring rolls with different types of vegetables and shrimp that could perfectly complement the other dishes. Of course, I'm aware that my skills might not match those of a professional chef, but the intention and effort behind it will undoubtedly make the experience special. Let's create an ambiance filled with love and warmth surrounding her family who care deeply for her well-being. This gesture might not only provide her with a delicious meal, but also bring a sense of comfort and joy during this challenging time.
That's amazing. I can't believe you came up with all of this. I am so blessed to have a wife like you. I truly can't thank you enough. I didn't realize you were such a thoughtful woman. Unlike other daughter-in-law these days, you regularly call my mother to check on her, take her to appointments, including chemotherapy and consultations, and even generously cover her medical expenses. And on top of all of that, you're planning to organize her birthday celebration? No, I truly am a lucky man. I must express my gratitude to God for sending me someone as beautiful inside and out as you, a true angel.
Please stop it. It makes me feel embarrassed. I'm not so kind all the time. Because I've received so much love from her, I keep wanting to do more for her. She's going through the toughest time of her life, and I just wanted to provide her some support, even if it's just a little. It's been almost 3 years since we got married, and it's not common for a mother-in-law to not ask her daughter-in-law to do the dishes or clean even once. My housekeeping and cooking skills are a mess, but she said that's how it is when I have a job. She stood by my side by saying I can't handle everything perfectly. She even told me not to devote myself too much to doing the house chores because my body gets exhausted if I try to do everything perfectly. And she's never mentioned her desire for a grandchild to me, knowing that I'm struggling with infertility. Instead, she told me not to stress too much about having a child, emphasizing that it's not necessary for me to go through all that pressure. I can't express how much comfort her words brought me. She's not like a regular mother-in-law, she's more like my own mother. Even after her cancer diagnosis, she apologized to us, feeling sorry for causing trouble and cared more about us than herself. Using work as an excuse, I've neglected everything else and haven't even cooked a proper meal for her. I regret that so much. It might be a bit late, but I still want to do something for her before it's too late.
Is that for real? Do you really care about my mom so much? In that case, how about we gift her a trip this time, instead of throwing a birthday party with the whole family?
A trip?
Yeah, I'm embarrassed to admit it, but I've never arranged a trip for her before. I haven't even spent extended periods of time with her, listening to her stories, except when I was very young. And apart from those early memories, I've never gone somewhere with her to create new ones. While her cancer surgery was successful, the reality is that we never know what might happen with a disease like cancer. So I'm thinking about taking this opportunity to go on a trip with my mom alone. I wonder if you would be okay with that. I know you've already planned a birthday party for her, so I apologize for bringing up the idea of a trip out of the blue. But after she got sick, I realized I wasn't being a good son. I couldn't stop thinking why I hadn't taken better care of her and paid more attention to her. I don't want to regret not having done more for her by her deathbed. That's why I thought about going on a trip with her alone. Do you understand my feelings?
Hasn't it only been a few weeks since she had surgery? Wouldn't it be a bit too much for her to go on a trip already? Where do you have in mind for the trip? I'm especially worried if it involves flying. Traveling by plane might raise even more concerns.
There's no need to worry. That's why I called her earlier to ask how her recovery is going. She said that her recovery has been quite speedy and that she's almost back to her normal routine. She told me that she even goes to a grocery store that's a 30-minute drive away, so I think a trip should be manageable without any issues. My mom has spent her whole life taking care of me and my brothers and managing our household, and she's never had the chance to travel. I wanted to take her to Hawaii, but considering her current situation, I was thinking of Santa Catalina Island. It's only 1.5 hours boat ride, and I heard it's very safe out there. If I can give her this opportunity to experience something different, I'll be grateful to you for the rest of my life.
What's the big deal about a simple trip that you'd be thankful for the rest of your life? I understand if she's in a condition to travel, then as her children, it's only right to send her. How much would it cost?
That's my girl. I should recognize my wife's generosity. I thought you'd willingly agree with me. Oh, thank you so much. Can I use the funds from our joint savings for the travel expenses?
Of course.
Thank you so much, honey. I'll look up the ferry and hotel right now. A duration of 3 nights and 4 days with a budget of around $1,000, that should be okay, right?
You should know how to take care of it on your own.
Do you have any recommendations?
Well, I've never been to Catalina Island, so not that I can think of.
All right, I understand. I'll start searching right away. What is going on here? Why the sudden barrage of calls? Didn't I make it clear that I wanted no disruptions during the mother-son trip with my mom? I deliberately turned off my cell phone to avoid any disturbances. So why have you been relentlessly calling me like this? It's quite contradictory to your initial understanding when you readily agreed to let me go. Now you're urging me to return urgently? Or is it possible that you're harboring suspicions and resorting to incessant check-ins on your husband like those stereotypical women? I would hope not. Trust is the foundation of any relationship, and I expect that we have a stronger bond than that.
I'm afraid that's it.
What?
I mean, you're right that I'm one of those stereotypical women suspecting their husbands.
Nah, that's nothing like you. I guess you were bored to death that you had to come up with such a stupid joke. Did you miss me already? It's only been a few days since I left home. Well, you're indeed like a sunflower. You always have your eyes only on me, and you only love me. You never lie your eyes onto other men even for a second. That's what I loved about you. Remember when we were in college? We had different majors, so it was rare for our classes to coincide. But there was that one time when we took a general education course together. You were the one who approached me first and confessed your feelings back then. And you even suggested we get married after a few years of dating. You were so direct and confident about your emotions, and that's what made you an attractive woman. You never exhausted me with trivial matters. You loved me without being clingy, and your cool nature distinguished between love and obsession. You were a woman of such high self-esteem and confidence, always assertive and self-assured. And now you're asking me to believe that you, with all your self-assuredness, suspected your husband of infidelity and made 36 calls? That's not like you at all. Such behavior doesn't align with who you are.
Then you know what to do. You just need to provide evidence to dispel my doubts. Since you said you're traveling with your mom, you can send me a photo of you and her together.
The thing is, she refuses to take a picture. She's saying that it feels like she's preparing a photo for her funeral, as if she only has a few days left to live, and she's not comfortable with that.
Then you can take a picture of her hands and send it to me.
Please, calm down a bit. If I say I'm with her, it means I am with her. Why do you need to overanalyze things and make such a fuss? Why are you getting so worked up about taking photos or providing evidence? I said she's uncomfortable with taking photos, and yet you're insisting and bothering her. Remember, she's a patient. Don't stress her out like this.
All right, I'll call her now, so please let her know to answer. Even if she doesn't want to take photos, she would be okay with a phone call, right? Conversations are something that can be done regardless of whether she's a patient or not.
A phone call is also not an option. No, anyway, everything is just complicated right now. Although she spent time with my brother and sister, this trip is the first time she's traveling with me alone, and she seems incredibly happy about it. She's enjoying a time solely with her youngest son without any disruptions. How do you think she'd feel if she received a stressful phone call from her daughter-in-law? Besides, I'll be back home tomorrow. Can't you just wait quietly until tomorrow?
I don't need to wait until tomorrow, or ever. Just stay there and live with your 24-year-old mom traveling around for the rest of your life. You don't need to come to my house ever again. You don't need to mind me. Don't try to squeeze out lies from your head and just live your life there without a second thought. I put your belongings in a plastic bag and left them outside the front door. Just take that and leave, and don't set foot in my house again. We'll meet again in court.
A 24-year-old mom? What the heck are you talking about? What court, and why would you leave my belongings outside the front door? What is all of this out of nowhere? I have zero clue what you're talking about.
You sure know what I am talking about.
No, I don't. Maybe you pretended to be a good daughter-in-law by saying you would cover my mom's and my travel expenses. But now that you think about it, you're upset that just the two of us went on the trip, excluding you, aren't you? How could you be like this after what my mom has done for you? No matter how well she treats you, she's still your mother-in-law, not your mother, huh? There's no such thing as a daughter like daughter-in-law, is there? She seems quite disappointed with your behavior. You don't want to disappoint an old lady who's battling cancer? So please, I'm asking you to be considerate so that we can enjoy the remaining day of our trip in peace.
How could she be disappointed with me when she passed away? Not just disappointment. I would even welcome cussing from her. I wish she were still alive. That would be so wonderful.
What the hell are you talking about? No matter how much dissatisfaction or misunderstanding you might have towards me, there are things that should and shouldn't be said. You shouldn't just casually make my mom a dead person because you're upset. Especially when she's already going through a tough time after her cancer surgery. How could you use her in such a way? Does it make sense to say that she has passed away when she's here with me right now? You deserve condemnation for making up such lies.
We're cremating her today.
I told you to not come up with such insane lies, didn't I?
Do you still think I'm joking about this? Is there any daughter-in-law having her mother-in-law's funeral as a joke?
I mean, how could she die when she's with me on a trip at this moment? Listen, honey, hear me out. I understand that whatever words I say might not be enough to justify my actions, but I want you to know that I was also going through a difficult time. The anticipated promotion at work didn't happen as I had hoped. Work had lost its appeal, interactions with colleagues were becoming draining, and I found myself facing a mounting pile of stress and frustration. It was in this context that I made the decision to seek an escape, a way to release the emotional burden that had been building up within me. I want to sincerely apologize for deceiving you by falsely claiming that I was going on a trip with my mother. It was a decision that I made out of necessity, although it was a choice that made me so guilty. The circumstances pushed me into a corner where I felt there were limited options available to me, and it wasn't a decision I made lightly. Please, understand that I never intended to hurt you or undermine our relationship. I recognize the hurt and disappointment my actions have caused, and I deeply regret the pain I've inflicted upon you. I hope you can find it within yourself to forgive me and allow us to move forward, as I genuinely wish to make amends for my mistakes.
I called your manager. I was able to find out that you took 4 sick days using your mother as an excuse that she was in critical condition. I immediately thought something was up with you, so I asked if there was any other employee who requested to take the same days off. And I was told a female colleague of yours within the same department also requested the same 4 days of sick days for the same excuse. I strongly sensed that a woman's intuition wouldn't let this be a mere coincidence. Don't you have anything to say? Is it true that my husband actually went on that affair trip with his girlfriend that I only heard about?
No, honey, it is absolutely not like that. This trip was solely for me, and that woman has absolutely nothing to do with it. I can swear by that. There's certainly no affair involved.
Did you think that I suspected you without any concrete evidence? The cosmetics store receipt in your pocket, your strange clothing, perfume, and hairstyle changes, and the subtle shifts in your demeanor made me slightly suspicious, even though I tried to trust you. I still believed in you until I found that pair of earrings under my pillow. The fact that they were under my pillow seemed intentional, not just accidentally dropped there. It's as if she was trying to signal her presence, saying, "Try catching me if you can. Please acknowledge that I exist and just divorce him." So I went ahead and bought 2 security cameras and placed them in the living room and the bedroom. It's interesting how much footage accumulated, more than I could have imagined. You probably know better than anyone what was captured, right? Your girlfriend seems quite audacious, considering her young age. Do you have any more excuses left to offer?
You're saying that you knew about me seeing someone else and you stayed calm? Are you saying that even for this trip you knew it was her and yet you still let me go?
I just wanted to see how far you would go. No matter how much of a jerk you are, I never imagined you would stoop so low as to betray even your own mother who's battling cancer. Despite my disdain for you, I still wanted to give her a birthday present that wouldn't leave me any regrets because I thought it might be her last birthday. I thought we would be on the same page. However, even my last ounce of trust was shattered by an utterly despicable person like you. I have no more expectations from someone as a scumbag as you. All I want now is to divorce you as soon as possible. You know that if I file for divorce, I'll undoubtedly win, right? Let's settle this quietly.
No, honey, this is not the time to talk about divorce. Where's my mom's funeral held? I'll be right there.
You can't leave your beloved girlfriend alone and come back, can you? Just stay there and finish whatever you haven't yet. When you return, a grim reality awaits where you'll lose your home and job. You don't want to face that, do you? Before confronting the harsh reality, take your time and enjoy yourself fully.
What do you mean by that?
Did you really think you could continue working for your company after taking sick leave and going on an affair trip? Even with a woman from the same department? Your employer learned you were on an affair trip by turning off your phone while not even knowing your mother had passed away. Now, what's left but to accept your lethal injection?
Knowing very well that my boss is someone who absolutely can't tolerate office affairs, how could you do something like that? Aren't we a married couple who have been living together for 3 years? Did you have to go to such lengths to drag me down and make me miserable like this? Is this how you satisfy your desires?
What do you mean by talking about misery just for this? You can't attend your mother's funeral, will be estranged from your father, and now facing divorce from your wife? You could talk about misery after being completely alone. It wouldn't be too late for that, would it? Well, with a young and pretty girlfriend by your side, I guess your life might be far from being completely miserable.
I've only met her a few times casually. I've never dreamed about any future with her. What kind of future could I dream of with a woman who has sick parents struggling with illness and an older brother who has been living in a shabby house for over 10 years? I've never even considered becoming a part of a family with those in the lower class of society who barely manage to eat using food stamps and medical assistance in an old, small, rented house. Please, believe me, I've never once imagined such a thing, not even in my dreams. I was momentarily intrigued when a young and pretty woman showed interest in an ordinary man in his mid-30s like me. But the person I love and trust is you, and you alone. I have never sworn to abandon you.
Who are you to even think about abandoning me and saying such arrogant things? I am the one to leave behind a human trash like you. As soon as Teresa's funeral is over today, we're done. For good.
Please, I am asking you to let me know where my mother's funeral is taking place. We're a married couple. If we meet face to face and talk, we can surely clear up all misunderstandings. I'm begging you, dear.
Are you trying to come to the funeral not for your mother, but to beg me? You're truly despicable, aren't you? Your father told me not to tell you where the funeral is taking place. Despite making hundreds of calls, you were busy with another woman, ignoring my and your father's calls. He even said he won't see you ever again, so don't even think about sneaking into the funeral and embarrassing yourself. Just quietly accept it. We can withdraw the alimony from our joint savings, and a signature on the divorce papers should be enough for you and I. Let's finally put an end to our miserable relationship. After what happened, my ex-husband ended up missing his own mother's funeral and also faced estrangement from his father. It's difficult to fathom the depth of the impact this must have had on him. To have been unable to say a final goodbye to the woman who raised him, someone he held dear, must have left an indescribable void in his heart. On the other hand, with the added weight of rumors circulating about his involvement with another woman within his workplace, his pride led him to resign from his job and sever ties with her as well. It's clear he didn't want to face the scrutiny and judgment of his colleagues and peers. In hindsight, I see how our marriage was influenced by his materialistic perspective, valuing conditions and practicalities over emotional connections. I was aware of this tendency even before we got married, but at the time I believed that there was something charming about his steadfastness and focus on stability. In my younger and less experienced days, I was willing to overlook certain aspects and focus on what I perceived as positive traits. Meanwhile, I've taken the alimony from both those two involved in affairs, initiated divorce proceedings, and embarked on a new chapter of my life living on my own. I sold the house that once was our shared space, opting for a smaller one that I now rent. This decision allowed me to channel my energy into pursuing personal passions and interests. It's funny that living together can sometimes be lonelier than living alone, and sometimes alone can sometimes be cozier than living together. That seems to be the essence of life. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe for more videos.